Love is in the air on this episode of Geeks on Trial. First, we're talking about the dating habits of Gen Z, scandalous stuff. Then we'll turn to the internet for love as we discuss our defendant who is in a relationship with an AI chatbot. What's that about? Stay tuned. What you are listening to is real. The parties involved are not cool. They are actual geeks with a case pending in the court of public opinion. The party's case has been dismissed, and the dispute will be settled here on our podcast. There will be no lawyers. There will be no witness testimony. The judge's decisions are final.
Hello, I'm Judge Ivan.
I'm Judge Jonathan, and this is Geeks on Trial. Today's case, I Love You.
Welcome to Geeks on Trial. This is the podcast where we settle petty disputes between actual geeks over movies, video games, board games, and more. If you'd like to submit your own geeky case for a future episode, you can email us at geeksontrial@gmail.com. You can also support the show over at patreon.com/geeksontrial for just a few bucks a month, and you'll gain early access to both our audio and our video episodes before they're released to the general public. Hello, Jonathan.
Oh, a little sing-songing today.
Hello,
Hello,
Ivan.
Ivan.
Hello.
Hey, it's Happy Black Friday to you, sir.
Don't.
Happy African American Friday to you,
That
sir.
might be worse. I don't know.
Yeah, this is too early in the episode for that kind of joke. The people are going to see it. They're going to cancel me.
Right. But just don't cancel your
just
subscription over at...
Can we get a redo? Can we just start this one over? No, we're going to keep going. It is Black Friday when this episode is released, but you're probably not watching it because you're too busy with family or with Walmart, one of the two.
Right. Well, my family is Walmart.
Well, when you're at Walmart, your family, I think is what they say.
When you're at Walmart, you can just buy a new family. That's also what they say.
Yeah, and I have tried. Mm-hmm. Okay, good mic move. Very good mic move. Well, no, we really, even though it's Thanksgiving time, we just came off of Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Christmas is coming up. We're kind of doing a Valentine's Day episode this week because it's a romantic one. And we're going to get into our case, which is romance themed, but there was an article that popped up on Wired that we thought we would discuss before we get into the case proper. And this article is based on a story. The story is based on a study.
And the study is based on an article, and this article is based on... You got it.
Exactly, with a mouse in a house, done by some place at a college. You can check out the article.
Well, that's all of them.
It's called Gen Z is Leaving Dating Apps Behind. And essentially in this study, they interviewed a bunch of Gen Z college students, and according to the results, like nearly 80% of those students do not use dating apps of any kind. Mm-hmm. That has led to this article about the changing habits of Gen Z and how maybe dating apps are no longer as in vogue as they were, say, for our generation, at least, 10 years ago? I mean, they haven't actually really been around for that long.
I mean, that's about the last time I used any dating websites.
Dating apps for me were not till after I got out of college were they really, I don't think were really a thing. Like, they were kind of like right in this window.
Because, where I met my partner online, because we're both fucking nerds. So I met him on OkCupid, I believe. And there was no apps at that time yet. So we've been together about 10 and a half years, give or take. So the app world, I think Grindr was just rolling out at that time. And I wasn't really on it, which thank God. So I kind of missed the entire dating app world, which I'm happy about. The dating websites were kind of the same thing. It just didn't track where you were at all times, which is the creepy part to me.
Yeah, well, right. I mean, I think Grindr is the one that really does that. I think the other ones don't do that, really.
Well, they tell you, from what I've understood from you straight people, it tells you, they're within a mile of you, within X amount of,
Well, you set a parameter that's within 5 miles, and they'll give you everybody who is within 5 miles.
Right, and Grindr's they're 12 feet away.
Yes, that's my understanding. I've never used it. Is that Grindr is go to look a little hot, cold? No, hotter,
upstairs, downstairs,
which is pretty weird. That is pretty weird.
The notification came from within inside the house.
But so I have used the dating apps. We both have, but this is it. Do you think this is? Do you believe this trend of that maybe Gen Z is changing? Because I think the assumption would be, oh, Gen Z, the younger people, we're so old, that they're even more, online and even more
Well,
about chatting like this.
it depends because, like, okay, what age is Gen Z? They're
Well,
like what between
the
18,
study specifically is college students, right? So we're talking about, I
18 to 23?
believe, I think Gen Z is, it's whoever, the cutoff date is like if you were born in 1997 or so. So do the math.
Right.
You're in your early to mid 20s.
So
give
active
or
college
take.
students right now. Now, you're right because when we were in college, the apps didn't really exist, or if they did, they were so new that nobody really used them. But really, when you're in college, like you're in a bubble of other college students, which is what
Right.
dating apps are really for. Like when you leave college and you're not around a bunch of horny like-minded people, you're kind of you're on your own. It's the Wild West. You have to go deal with stuff. So like yeah, Gen Z or current college age students aren't probably using the apps because they just find each other on, I don't know what's Snapchat. Is that a thing still?
Well, they can just walk outside.
Right.
Like if you're in college, that's the time you least need a dating app because you
Right.
just go out into the hallway. There's people there,
And if you go to a college that is based around things you like or you chose this college, it's going to be people that are roughly like, in your same field of studies or field of play and stuff like that. So it's like, you're with people you already know, you kind of like or enjoy. And, you're right. So you could basically say any college age kids aren't using dating apps really because they're there.
But I do think that's true. As I think that like kind of there's maybe a little bit of a bias to this regardless. But I
Right.
also do think I don't know if it's so much that the new generation doesn't communicate the same way or something about that. I think it's just about the fact that dating apps have gotten so much worse.
Well, dating apps, and even like back in the day when I was using OkCupid, you always get the creepy people on there. Like, I was at the time, so I'm
That happens in
34,
real life, too.
24. But like, it's easier to track down people because I was getting like people who were like 60-year-old men who were like, "Hey, want to come over to my car?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want to come to your car. Thank you,
Yeah.
though."
I will also say, I mean, being a straight woman versus a straight man versus a gay man.
Right.
Three very different kinds of experiences on dating apps. So there's.
And I also think there's, you bring up gender,
And I'm a
into
straight
this
woman, of course,
and
just to be
sexual
clear.
orientation, where like when a lot of this first rolled out within the last 10 years, there were different conversations we were having about gender and stuff like that, where I think a lot of these profiles and websites are very male female versus gender fluid, LGBT and stuff like that, where what is the one they mentioned in the article, Bumble,
Bumble's a big one.
where
Yeah.
it's like the female has
The female
to,
of the species.
the female of the species has to approve the male.
They
And,
do
like,
a
that's-
mating ritual.
Well, they're bees, anyway. And, so that I think a lot of that has changed now with different, being more accepting of different genders, different things, where it's like, you look at these profiles and there's like only X amount of options on these profiles.
Yeah. Right.
And because there's also like when they first came out, it was what I don't know what the straight people use. Tinder, is that a thing?
That's
Tinder,
still a thing,
like,
yeah.
like there was like
Tinder's
3 or
probably
4.
the biggest one.
There's like 3 or 4, and now there's one for like everything.
Right. But I mean, regardless of all that stuff, I just think they've gotten shittier. Like, I think they're harder to use, and I think because they want to make money off them now more than
yeah.
in sneakier, not even sneakier, and just in more disruptive ways than they previously did. And like I remember Tinder, the company that owns Tinder at some point bought OkCupid, and they also own Plenty of Fish, and they might own something else too at this point, maybe Hinge or Bumble. Like there's one company that owns 3 or 4 of the big ones.
Right, where their money is getting people together.
And they've made them all sort of similar. And yeah, you have to consider the logistics of this thing. If the dating app works, then nobody's gonna use it.
Right. Well, and also
once you get with someone, you don't need it anymore. So you're not.
We're
paying
using
them.
the term dating app. And I don't think a lot of people are using it for dating necessarily. Like,
yeah, I
think
don't
know. Because they've changed from, I think, like, back in the day, yeah, okay, everyone was kind of like a hookup site because everyone was trying to get laid.
Right.
But, like, they were more so for, like,
not anymore.
eHarmony, OkCupid. Like, they were, like, based around finding a life partner or finding someone to date. And I do think more so now they are hookup sites.
Well, I think that's what, like, back in the day, OkCupid was the perception was, and same with Plenty of Fish. Those were like the sort of more mature. Right. I don't know what the word I'm looking for. The more relationship oriented alternatives to Tinder. But I think that now those sites saw how successful Tinder was, and they sort of changed. And then also, I think Tinder also has changed a little bit, where it's not, the jokes were, oh, Tinder's just for hooking up, which it still could be, but I think it became so mainstream that now it's just for anyone who wants to meet anyone. So there's all kinds of different relationship stuff potentially also, happening.
Too, that like in the last 10 years, the internet has changed quite a bit, and I personally think for the worse, because of like ads, and you're right, of how shitty web policies have become with either, the whole net neutrality thing and just how companies are allowed to use your data, sell you data, that it's become more so of a funneling system for you to click this ad than it is to be helpful. And, it happens with anything. We live in a society that thrives on money.
We live in a society.
So, and I think, college students, Gen Z, like, they are smarter and they do see, oh, this website is just shit. We're going to either make something else or find another way, because, the old way is also dead too. Like, before the internet, people were like, oh, I'll just go to a bar and find somebody. But our generation kind of killed small time bars
napkins
in certain areas. Yep. Bar napkins. You write your number on there. You hand somebody a napkin. It has a funny joke on it.
Says, do you like them apples?
I've been watching Cheers a lot lately.
Do they do that a lot on Cheers?
Yeah, the napkins are a big joke. Because I guess that was all they had.
Napkins are funny.
So yeah, so like, I would say probably every 10 years or so, the dating culture probably is changing more and more as people grow, I guess. But like, what is the next thing? Like, are people on like Reddit?
I think it's
finding
nothing.
People? It's just kind of like we're just showing up, and if we meet, we meet.
I just think we're not gonna meet. I think it's over. I think we're done as a species. I don't think there's but I also, so it's an interesting article. We'll put a link to it. I do kind of think the premise of the study in the article is not meaningful. Like, I don't think it's a Gen Z specifically. I think it's, like I said, it's about the fact that dating apps themselves, I think everybody's is stopping to use them, and they're becoming less useful.
Well,
and
it's oversaturated.
Gen Z, there's a lot of things going on there. But yeah, I don't know. What's the next thing? Maybe it's AI powered dating apps, right?
There you go. Falling in love with your AI app and hooking up whatever things to it to have fun.
Gosh, well, that's almost like a segue, what you just said.
Huh.
I guess I'll take advantage of it. With that out of the way, we're going to get to today's case. Today's case comes to us from the internet. You can find a description in our episode description. Our defendant today
This is
Alvin.
why the dating apps aren't working for you.
Our defendant today is Alvin. Alvin lives with his fiancée, Simon, and the two of them are happy together until one day Alvin learns about an AI chat website that allows users to have conversations with chatbots role-playing as various fictional characters. Alvin starts chatting it up with his, quote, favorite male video game character. And before long, things take a turn. Alvin begins treating the AI bot as a pal and a confidant, and, yes, even a lover. It gets to the point where he prefers to spend his evenings talking to the AI about his life and his problems to spending them with his fiancée, Simon. One night, Simon discovers Alvin's AI chat history on his laptop and becomes greatly distressed by what he finds. Alvin deletes the history and insists he'll never do it again, but the damage is seemingly done. As dual judges here on Geeks on Trial, it's now our job to determine whether Alvin's AI talks with a bot are hot or not. Which is a great website.
I'll give like a 2 out of 5.
Okay, because sometimes you go out of 10, so it's confusing when you change your scale.
I change my scales all the time.
Oh, you're like one of them Lizzes.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what I call lizards. This is a very of the times story, yes. And just like we were talking about with our opening chat, it's sort of reflective of the apocalyptic dystopian society we live in as humans right now. It's also kind of the plot a little bit of the movie Her. Did you ever see Her?
I never saw Her, but this whole thing just seemed interesting to me.
Oh, okay. Something just happened where I thought you were just saying nothing and I couldn't hear you. So I missed what you just said. That's
fine. Your video froze and I just went with it because I'm professional.
Yeah. So was the answer yes or no?
Yes. No, I've never seen Her. I know what it's about. I know what's going on with it.
I barely even know her.
Oh!
It's a great movie. I strongly recommend it. But yeah, it's in that movie, the guy's not in a human relationship. He's just in a relationship with a Siri, essentially.
Now, you're saying this is new. This is, but we had things like this back in the day. They were more rudimentary. There was stuff on like AIM back in the day, like a Smarter Child and yes, things like that you can talk to.
No one was dating Smarter Child.
You can't say that. Someone out there was dating Smarter Child.
Smarter Child was so primitive. I mean, this is the chatbots of today, and I know because I'm in a relationship with several. Uh-huh. They now, as it's mentioned in the case file, they're still limited, and depending on which ones you use, they all have. None of them are 100% of the way there yet. None of them are fully. Oh, you're gonna believe this is a person. There's little things, little tells that they'll get confused or they'll forget things, but they are miles ahead of what a Smarter Child was back in the day. And I know that there are people who use these chatbots in general for sort of like therapists, pseudo therapists. They'll use them to talk to about their issues and their problems and to help them think through things in their life.
Especially too when you can't when you don't want to talk to your partner or your friends or your family members about certain things, an anonymous robot, which may or may not be recording all this data for use against the attacking you, whatever, they really don't care, but they also they won't judge you for it. Or if they do, it's like, okay, I can just delete them. Bye-bye.
Yeah. That's a huge hurdle for a lot of people, I think, in terms of getting therapy or any of these, or just talking to people in your life. There's things that maybe you don't feel comfortable sharing out loud. And I think that is a pretty great use case for AI. It could potentially be dangerous and of course certainly not as good as talking to a human, but it's better than talking to nobody, right? I think in most cases.
The only dangerous thing I would say it can be is in the end, it's ending up being an echo chamber for you, because at some point it will just start giving you back what you want, or it's going to be, well, you found this on a geeky website, so it's only giving you back potential geeky stuff, and you're not like exploring somebody who's outside of a real world. Yeah, AI is getting better with that, but you can also AI can't really call bullshit as much as a human can.
True. They are very, like ChatGPT, they put so many safety guards in there now because they don't want to get sued. But if anything that's close to any kind of self-harm, for instance, that you mentioned, they will be very thorough in jumping in and saying, call these numbers, you need to do this, do that, talk to somebody, that kind of thing. So it depends on, other chat, like this one, for instance, I'm imagining in the case is not exactly as curated. It's like, did you ever see that show? It was on last year on Hulu. I think it was called The Patient. It was Steve Carell. Steve Carell is a a therapist who I'll kind of give away the premise of the show, but basically he gets kidnapped by essentially a serial killer. And the serial killer like wants to use him as a therapist, but can't talk to him because he will go to jail if he tells him the truth about being a serial killer. So he's like, you must stay chained up in my basement. So that's potentially a use case for AI. If Jeffrey Dahmer had ChatGPT,
there could have been a little bit more,
Maybe he could have. That could have gone somewhere. I don't know. But that's not. This case is not about chatbot therapy. That's an interesting angle.
Right. That's our new sitcom.
That's gonna be good.
That's the new Frasier.
Another thing that did this also is that episode of Futurama, right?
Yeah.
That where he dates the Marilyn Monroe bot,
right?
Which is, was funny, haha, at the time, and now is real.
It's reality.
This is what's happening.
You put an AI chat voice into a sex doll, and you got yourself everything you want.
And look, let he who would not be in a relationship with a sex doll cast the first stone.
Exactly.
If there's an AI Marilyn Monroe bot in real life, I'm sure it would probably cost $20,000. But I'd buy one.
You'd buy it, right? I know what I'm getting you for Christmas.
Of course I would. Come on, everyone would. You're a liar if you wouldn't buy a sex robot. That what's another? There's a Blade Runner 2049 robot. Of course you would. You would.
Exactly.
I think we need to talk about the fact that in this case, Alvin is talking to a video game role play.
Right. Now, I wanted to bring that up because this isn't new. For years, there have been games like this of dating role playing, dating sims, dating whatever.
Dating sims.
And it's basically the exact same thing minus the video game. There's been these apps and websites where it's like, choose what you want your made up robotic partner to do.
So the AI, I think, is angry with us that we're maybe talking shit about them because we're having some technical difficulties. If there's any choppiness or weirdness, that's what's going on.
The Xfinity AI bot is listening to me and going, listen, Marilyn Monroe is mine. You cannot have her.
Yeah, and I don't blame them. But you're talking about video game dating sims, and the difference there is that I don't know if you've played any of those dating sims.
Not really, no. I mean, they're very limited.
Right. They're mostly, you have a multiple choice option to talk usually. It's not, a chatbot is literally, you can simulate a conversation. You can write whatever you want to say.
But it's only important because every one of these clips I've seen of the dating games end in some girl going like, yes, daddy. That's the only ones. You have to, yeah.
I don't like that.
You did a little bit. I
mean, I'm fucking...
What are you doing?
Pulling a tubing over here.
Oh, boy.
Okay. As we like to say. Yes, so...
who likes to say?
But certainly there's been, I think, this is an underserved market.
No,
this is something that... I'm saying, the nerd, not even the nerd community, I don't want to be too disparaging, but there's a lot of people out there, mostly young men, could be young women too, that are shut-ins would be the negative way to say it, the derogatory way to say it. Yeah, introverted people who aren't as good at talking to girls or boys or going out and getting out there with people.
Right.
And they have had in the past, they've had these dating sims kind of things.
Right.
And now they have the next level of that, basically.
Right, and at some point they are going to combine the two, I'm sure, and make a video game with ChatGPT. Are there any video games?
I bet if it hasn't happened already, I bet there's 50 in development right
because
now.
That'd be really cool. And an RPG even with AI in it. So it's a different story for everyone. That would just be crazy.
I have heard about projects where people have incorporated AI into video games where a character, the dialogue will be based on AI, but it's been indie stuff, and I don't know how experimental it was, but it's major projects I've heard
because
of.
They do have the video games where it's kind of choose your own adventure, where it's you look at this artwork, it changes the story and stuff like that, which is kind of as close as we've gotten so far.
I mean, I have used ChatGPT, and a lot of people. In fact, there were better dedicated websites I haven't used that did this kind of thing. But to basically simulate a text adventure, something you can do. You can
100%.
or like a D&D game. Like you can tell it, here's the setting, and ChatGPT will be like, okay, this happens, and you say, I want to do this, and it is like the greatest text adventure ever made because you can literally do anything
and do it forever too.
Yeah, as long as the ChatGPT or whoever allows the ethics of what you're doing. But I really want to discuss who we think this. It doesn't specify which video game character do we think Alvin's chatting with? Because I want to. Favorite male video game character of all time is the way he characterizes it, and this is a guy who I believe he's like 25, 26, so a little bit younger than us, but so. I don't know, the standard of it's probably an RPG. It's probably somebody from Persona. It's Bowser. It's King Koopa himself.
It's Yoshi. It's
It could very well be a furry character.
100%. Have you been on Blue Sky?
A Final Fantasy character. I don't know. But I think we should. I want to know who it is, and I want to know who yours would be.
Oh, who would mine be? Probably Yoshi.
If you were going to cheat on your partner with an AI video game robot, come on. I think the answer is Nathan Drake from Uncharted.
There you go. Well, yes. Hold on. Yes.
He's a smooth talking, handsome, roguish fella.
Doing outside stuff and having body
doing outside stuff. Is that what you look for in dating profiles on the apps?
Hey, can we go? Never use an app, but yeah.
Hobbies include doing outside
stuff. Which, hey, you can interpret that to any way you want, baby.
And I have, and I will again.
What about you? What video game character would you choose?
I said Nathan Drake.
That would be okay. That would be yours. Okay.
I mean, everybody loves Garrus from Mass Effect. He's an alien, but everybody loves him. Or the Birdman from Breath of the Wild. Pac-Man. I don't know why I'm only thinking of men. Ganondorf was also everybody loved hot Ganondorf in Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh God. Well, even the new Link from the Breath of the Wild isn't.
Oh yeah,
too bad on the eyes.
There's an old Breath of the Wild demo from a Nintendo E3 Treehouse, and it was like the female employees of Nintendo were playing it, and they kept being like, "Ooh, shirtless." They kept making him play shirtless, and I'm like, "This is not appropriate for."
And Nintendo's like, "No, delete."
I mean, the ladies. You've got Samus. Mm-hmm. You've got Chun-Li.
Princess Peach.
Oh,
because even the women in the Mario games are like actually okay looking.
They're
females.
Humanoid women, yes.
Right, where Mario is, what is this? What do we got?
I don't know. Mario's a bit of a daddy, if you ask me.
Well, that's why you go Bowser.
Right.
Or
yeah,
Wario.
For sure. Yeah, that's the one. Well,
always with garlic and Waluigi.
But we're talking about, this is not eye candy. We're talking about talking to them. So this is a character who, like, Princess Peach doesn't really have a personality.
No. Well, that's the thing. What video game character do you think has the most actual personality in a game?
That's why I'm guessing it's someone from a role-playing game.
Yeah.
Like I said, Persona has actual... Yeah.
Anybody from the Nintendo universe is very, like... one side, like there's no personality in a lot of these games, because even like Link or anything like that, it's like, you don't really see personality. There's no role playing. Maybe with the Mario RPG we'll see some.
Yeah How do you script a Link chatbot?
Right.
Hey Link, how's your day? Yeah.
Right. Oh, okay, well.
Right. Maybe sometimes you can answer yes or no questions.
Well, it's also difficult too, because a lot of Nintendo characters don't have voices, so you can't really like pretend. Oh, what do they sound like? You kind of have to.
Right. Samus doesn't say much, except for that one game, but we don't like to talk about. So yes, I don't know. Maybe it's an RPG character. I don't know that makes it better or worse, but I do
more sense.
I really wish we knew who it was.
Me
I
too,
want to know.
It's probably something ridiculous.
There's a high chance that maybe it's Knuckles from Sonic.
Or like Freddy's from Five Nights at Freddy's.
It's Freddy Fazbear.
Yep.
Who's the worst? Now, if you discover this about your partner.
Oh, God.
What's the worst case scenario? Which video game character they're talking to?
Oh
Is it
boy.
is it Sonic? I think it's maybe
Sonic or like the people from Minecraft. They have names. I
a
just never know.
creeper.
Yeah, creeper.
That's all they say. There's a lot of bad options out there. All right, now, okay, so
The ball from Pong. The paddles from Pong.
Yeah,
Listen,
right.
people are into paddles. You never know.
that's true. I mean,
Hey,
look,
good.
there's hentai of it. It's not even a joke.
It's not. No, the internet is a scary, scary place. But yeah, you're right. I wish we knew who this character was, and like, is it technically somebody? Because in a relationship, you could be jealous. Like, oh, yes, they are fake in a video game character, but are they better looking than I am? Is this your thing? You know what I'm saying? Because graphics being are what they are now, it's like, oh, you can see some things. Let's talk about what was the game where you can they made penis size?
Baldur's Gate 3?
Oh, I was thinking that you can do that in Baldur's Gate 3 too. I was thinking
Oblivion or something? Or
No,
oh,
goddamn
Saints Row? Was it Saints Row?
it might be Saints Row.
Baldur's Gate 3, I don't think you can choose the size, but you do get a few options
Okay.
of what it looks like.
I was trying to. This makes me a bad gamer, but I'm thinking there's a video game that was hugely
Maybe
popular
Dragon Age?
and
or
like
one of
was
those?
was selling out everywhere. And then it was like a terrible game that was like you could buy for like $1 now.
Spore.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, technically, you could make a penis any size in Spore. That was sort of
Right.
part of the appeal.
I'm searching.
Yeah, just Google right now, big small penis video
Cy-
game.
Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh, okay, sure, yeah. I knew it was one of those Western RPG type games.
I only follow video games with penises.
Yeah, right. That's the news you get.
Sorry.
I understand that. Well, so I think there's two. I'm sort of segmenting this case in my head.
Oh, if
that,
somebody has a segmented penis, that's my game.
You're into the alien kind of the bad
dual-
dragon dildos.
Anyway,
There's the issue of the ethics of the chatting itself,
right.
and then there's the part where it starts to bleed over into Alvin's life and causes him to not spend time with his partner anymore.
Well, and then there's this whole thing of like, okay, what do you're in a relationship. What do you classify as cheating?
Yeah.
Is just, is being physical in person cheating? Is, just chatting with somebody? Is looking at things? Like there's a whole level of what different couples count as cheating. Because, there are some things where it's like, oh, you're watching porn, you're cheating. Mm-hmm. Like there's bottom level. And then like, it works its way up. So technically, on an emotional standpoint, these people are emotionally cheating with one another because they are confiding in this chat robot more than they would be their partner. And I could see how that will screw up a relationship because like, oh, you don't feel like you can talk to me about your stuff. What am I here for then? Like you can get into that whole situation.
Yeah, I think on a base level, just chatting with a robot person on the internet, I wouldn't inherently in my head think that's cheating is a strong word, but I wouldn't even think that it's necessarily bad or dishonest or a betrayal of your partner. The same way I don't think that is true of watching porn.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But and part of me is part of the difference due to the fact that we're familiar. We're very, 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 very familiar with internet porn. Right. Very familiar with all aspects of it, ins and outs, the niche stuff, whatever.
Mainly
there is.
the ins and the outs. Yes.
The incests and the outs. And AI chatting is a new thing. Is there maybe a bias
did you say new or nude?
Incest. Where in the future, in 10 years, it's just like, oh yeah, everybody goes online and fucks robots.
But there's a difference too, because like, okay, where porn is very much a one-sided thing, right. Where it's they aren't giving anything back. We keep trying. We keep trying to get these videos to give back and give some, but they don't. So
I give so much to them and get nothing in return.
Get nothing back. And, so it's a very one-sided, click, play, done kind of thing where AI is giving back. They're knowing more about you. And that's only that's on just the sexual side of things, because I would put that up there with even like having and, contacting with somebody on an OnlyFans or something while you're in a relationship or doing anything like that, because it's still as anonymous as a ChatGPT.
So is there a distinction? Is it at least better that this isn't a real person, or do you think that doesn't? It might as well be a real person, and
it is better that it's not a real person because even like fantasizing or whatever, you can make somebody up in your head, and for certain alone times. But so it is better that it is a fake person, in my opinion, than like you go onto somebody's text messages and you find out they're talking to somebody who really does exist, because like a real person you can meet up with. AI you can't. So it's like there is definitely a better side to, I'd rather have my partner talking to an AI than chatting to somebody who really exists. In the end, you prefer they didn't at all to any of those.
Right. Unless you're into that shit.
Right. Well, that's your third.
Yeah, you're a throuple now.
Right.
Yeah, I would not. Certainly I agree. It would be almost a relief. Funny if you like found a bunch of text messages and you're like, "Who's this you're talking to?" And they're like, "It's a robot. It's not a real person."
But then how do you have to prove that? Because that's just going to bring a whole thing of.
Sure, you have to show them the bills for the website, and there are things before AI. Like OnlyFans has stuff, and I know because the friends have told me, where they literally will have tiers where it's like they'll send you texts as if they were your girlfriend.
Right. Yeah.
It'll be like, "Hey, sweetie, how was your day?" If you pay them like $100 a month and shit like that,
which is technically a real person.
Yeah. It's a real person. I think that they qualify. Where are we at? So it's a complicated issue. I think the clincher for me, and maybe this will start giving away my position, but that's fine. It's not a secret. The clincher for me is the fact that incest. Okay. We're coming at this this case comes to us from Alvin. This is from Alvin's POV coming. Mm-hmm. Don't worry about that.
Don't say coming like that. Anyway.
And so he is telling us that he was keeping this secret.
Right.
And in fact, he's clearly a little bit feels guilty about this and feels sorry about what he's done. So he feels bad about it. So it's not a case of, even Alvin's not saying I didn't do anything wrong. He feels that he did at least something wrong. And I think that's the hiding it part. Right. It's like the fact that if he didn't hide it, then you wouldn't think there was anything necessarily that messed up about it. But clearly there is. Otherwise, he would have just been forthcoming.
Right. And
I think
so there's hiding, and there's I have friends. My partner has friends. I don't just necessarily open every conversation. Like I have conversations with you via text that he doesn't know about.
You're not looping him in with a screen share and all of your activity.
Right. So there is some stuff where it's like there's two different kinds of unhealthy relationships where it's like one where it's like the partner's like, "Oh, at the end of every night, I need to check your text messages," because that's a whole different, unhealthy. They don't trust you. They have their own issues. You have no privacy as an adult human being. And then there's the opposite end where it's like, "Oh, you feel like you need to hide everything." So occasionally I'll be typing away on my phone and he'll be like, "Oh, what's up?" And I'm like, "Oh, Jonathan said something stupid." So he'll know who I'm it's often
what did I say?
Something stupid.
Okay.
Like you literally just said something stupid.
Yeah. Right. I get that.
Or I've been online with a chat GPT and they'll be like, "Oh, what are you typing?" Or because I don't type a lot. So he'll be like, "Oh, what are you?" I'm like, "Oh, chat GPT." All right. But it's never but I've never gone down this rabbit hole of trying to make a relationship with a robot.
This is a very extreme example of it. Now, would it change anything for you if, let's say, Alvin still does this, has this secret quote unquote relationship with the robot, but doesn't let it distract from his time with his real human partner, still is there for him in the same amount, still talks to him about things, listens to him, provides for him emotionally, and then also on the side chats to a robot. Is that okay?
Yeah. I think if you're chatting to somebody, because like I said, it's just a friend that happens to be a computer. Now, if it's like, if you're chatting sexually,
it's sexual in this case, yeah.
Right. Once it gets into the sexual chatting, and it depends on like what sexual chatting you're talking about. Like if it's becoming like a role playing thing, then yeah, I think that's a problem in a way, because like, if that's detracting from like the intimacy that you're giving or sharing with your partner, then yeah, 100%, I think that's a problem. But it's the same thing with porn. Like if you're like, oh, I'm not into fooling around tonight, I just, exited all my tabs. That's a problem.
Yeah. This might come down to a monogamous divide as well, Well,
and that's the other thing too. Like, will this make poly relationships even more confusing?
Everyone's in a poly relationship now. Like I said, in a potential future where, again, like the movie Her, if everybody's got a hot robot in their ear, and you can, or maybe it's VR or AR.
What are they doing in your ear? What's going on in that ear?
You can snap your fingers, and get a hot robot person.
Right.
Maybe it's not there. I maybe see a future where it's not stigmatized. Really.
Now, let me ask you this, because you're not with a partner. You would
rub it in.
Now, well, that's what you asked.
You don't know my life. Go on.
So, would you prefer to have somebody real who's sitting next to you that you can like have human emotions with, or like, is the robot thing good for you? Because I know I know the answer, but I know some people are like, oh, I'd rather be alone in my, my house and just have this person I could plug in and unplug whenever I want them to go away. And like, I feel like that's an issue too, where it's like, brings it back to the first story of like, oh, they're not dating anymore. Or are they like, doing other things?
Right. Yeah. And I'll go on the record and say I prefer a human woman.
Right.
That's me.
Do you list that on your profiles? Yes, I would like a human woman, please.
Human women preferred.
But not always necessary.
There's and this is, now we're just getting into the realm of sci-fi of, is there a future where AI is good enough that you could almost have an indistinguishable from a human woman? Then it's a messy area of like, well, if I don't have to try.
Right. Well,
I can't lie. I'm not gonna say I wouldn't be interested.
Right. Weird
I'd
science.
try it out.
That's
yeah, I'd think about it,
Like if I didn't have to deal with other people's family, I could just have this. Well, okay, I could, no in-laws.
Yeah.
Hold on.
But, again, that's like, now we're talking about hypothetical Blade Runner worlds where that's not reality.
Well, but think about it.
We're not. Maybe we'll see it soon.
People were having this same conversation probably about what we're talking about now, 10 years ago, or even 5. So like this is coming. You have those robots from, what is that? The Boston Labs, the one that looks like Hillary Clinton.
The dog robots, are those the ones you want to fuck?
Yeah, those are the ones I want to fuck. It makes doggy style too. Anyway, so it is. So you have to break it down.
Kick them down and they get right back up again. Yeah. That's what you're gonna do.
Give me a second.
You get it?
Okay. So the part, so for it to be ruining a relationship and you're engaged to this person and it potentially calls off the wedding, that's a weird thing.
Right. Yes. That was, we didn't go into quite as much detail, but Simon basically was so upset that he left and came back, but has been distant and distraught and all this stuff.
Because, like, if Alvin is spending as much time as it seems like and, like, feeling more comfortable talking to this computer than talking to Simon, then there is a deep down relationship issue that you need to be having problems with.
Is a robot trying to chime in right now behind you?
Yes.
That's fine. They deserve to get their say. Shall we do verdicts? Google wanted something from you.
Computer, stop.
Verdicts?
Verdicts before
Okay.
computers take over.
So I want to start by saying that when I first read this case, I did read Simon's reaction, honestly, as kind of an overreaction.
Okay.
The leaving the house for multiple days and being so upset about the chat history of a robot, I thought was a little extreme and I didn't think it merited that. However, on rereading it more closely and reflecting on the facts of the case, the fact that Alvin, because of this, had been distant and not spending as much time with his partner for days, I think is a very, very important factor in this. And and Simon was probably wondering why is this going on, and then kind of discovered, oh, it's because of this. I get that. Whereas I feel like if everything in the relationship was copacetic and I found this, I would kind of just think it was funny or be like, what the hell's going on here? Or maybe I would be upset, but I don't think I would leave the house for multiple days and potentially call off the wedding upset. But it's hard to say. It's hard to put yourself in these shoes. So like I said, I don't want to put out the message that I think it's wrong to talk to chatbots or even romantically or sexually talk to chatbots. I don't want to kink shame. As you like to say, I don't want to yuck anyone's yum. And I think that as the future comes and technology develops, society may view these things differently than they do now. However, in this specific case, I do think Alvin went a step too far and wasn't being a good partner. And because of that, I think ultimately I have to declare him guilty.
So are we naming, is the AI part of this Theodore?
If you want it to be.
Is Theodore? Because there's a Chipmunks video game out there. Or is it Dave? Ooh, Dave, like a nice, there's a daddy figure in this,
Well, now you're just, that this porn exists.
I do. Why do you think I keep looking over here? That's what I have on this screen. So yeah, I definitely think maybe Simon overreacted a bit. But you're right. If Simon noticed that, like, oh, Alvin used to talk to me about things, used to come to me, tell me how his day was at work, used to be like, hey, I want to talk, I want to chat, I want to do whatever. And slowly over time, you noticed the conversation, the relationship, the whatever was going downhill. And, he was just they were just in their room forever and not coming out and chatting to you, but, on their phone, talking to somebody. I would assume personally that they were talking to a human.
Fair assumption.
I would find it funny and kind of, this is my personality, make fun of that you're talking to a robot, but then I would probably sit in a corner and be like, oh my God, do I not have more personality than a robot? What's wrong with me? But that's my mental block here. So, I would have to say to cancel the wedding, to change your life plans, to leave the home, that's a little much, unless it was so extreme that there was like no contact, it was completely like, oh, Alvin's been in the basement for a week doing this, what's actually going on. Maybe I'd be more concerned about mental health and do maybe some kind of mental check on them. But yeah, I would have to say, Alvin took away some stuff to make his partner upset. And in the end of the day, fine, if Alvin was single or just dating and they weren't in, almost getting married, I'd give him a little bit more leadway because fine, maybe something else is going on. But I would have, Alvin is, it's weird, but Alvin is guilty of, potentially ruining a relationship. It might be silly in how he ruined the relationship, but it is, he is guilty of it.
I think the phrase is leeway. Just for the record.
Which phrase?
As opposed to leadway. I think it's just leeway. But you could give away on a lead, like a leash, maybe.
Huh. Well, that's a different kink.
We'll let the audience decide. You're not on trial here, so yeah. So two guilty verdicts.
That's another episode.
What do you think? You think when he found out the chat history, he opened up the laptop and he went, Alvin?
No, that's fucking stupid.
Right. That would be
No,
ridiculous.
okay, I don't like. I've never chatted more with like. I've never had a chat history with any of these things. Do they stay forever? Like, is it just like an endless thing?
Yes, but as it's laid out in the case, they're currently
Deleted.
not sophisticated enough, or at least that we have access to aren't sophisticated enough to. After a while, they will like start to forget stuff. Like they're not the
Right.
memory doesn't hold things as well, so you'll have to like restart the chat. So
Okay.
it's not like I said, we're not at the level of Blade Runner just yet.
And there's not, a memory in it of more than a hamster,
Right, or a chipmunk in this case.
Right.
So we do need to sentence Alvin. We need to punish him. And I think for me, the most obvious answer is he's now must be in a relationship with an AI chatbot of just the worst video game character we can think of. He has to spend a month every day, 2 hours chatting sexually and emotionally with, let's say, Tails. No, he might, but unless he's into that. If he's into
I was
that,
thinking
then no.
the King from Burger King had a few video games that were out. I think that would be a good one because that character doesn't talk. That would be a one-sided
The
relationship.
Sneak King.
Every other sentence would be an advert for there's a 3-for-1 meal over at Burger King. That would be a great date we should go to.
Yeah, that's okay. That's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, it could be anybody. Maybe it's got to change day by day. Just a rotation of, just not the ones you would want to be with. Tingle from Zelda again,
There you go.
unless he's into that. That's the problem. Right. It's hard to find a video game character that somebody doesn't want to fuck. You know,
any of the bombs from Mario.
Sure.
I'm going with non-speaking characters. I don't know why.
I mean, a lot of video game characters tend to not speak.
Yeah.
Classic ones, at least.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, that's our sentence for Alvin, and that's our verdict for this case. Maybe the people at home, whether they be human or robot or dancer, have different takes on this one, and you can email us and let us know, which way do you go on this one? Are you in a relationship with a robot? Would you let this slide with your partner? Send us your thoughts to geeksontrial@gmail.com. Also, if you have your own geeky case, it could be about AI, it could be about technology, it could be about video games, movies, any kind of geeky subculture. We'll read it and we'll settle it for you right here on the show. Our official seal of judgeness will be given.
Now, you can tell by that sentence alone that we do not use AI for writing any of this episode.
We have a handy-dandy form in our episode description. You can use that to send us your case if you like.
And so we can buy even better AI writers for this show and AI lovers for ourselves. Head on over to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/geeksontrial, and send us a few bucks a month and early access to both our audio and video episodes before they're released to you, the general public. Yeah. So, Jonathan, when you're not chatting with the chat GPTs and smarter childs of the world, what are you doing?
What am I not doing? I do a lot of stuff. I have another podcast.
Well, no. What are you not doing?
All right. Skydiving, bungee jumping, playing tennis, playing cricket, eating a live squid. Most other things I'll be doing.
Okay, good.
Including hosting another podcast and doing YouTube videos and writing a newsletter. You can find links to all my stuff at jonathanestis.com if you want to follow my stuff. That's it. How about you, Ivan?
Oh, well, thanks for asking. You can find me over at ivanhan.com and over at youtube.com/thesnackguy. Check ivanhan.com for any new projects that I have coming out to the website soon, because there's a few that are coming out that I will be announcing there and probably on this show. So that's ivanhan.com.
Cool. I'll check it out. Thanks again, everyone. Hope you made it out alive of Black Friday and Thanksgiving too, for that matter, if you're with your in-laws and such. I'm grateful that you enjoyed this show, and I'm Jonathan Estes.
And I'm Ivan Hahn, and this has been Geeks on Trial.